Mm, Add scientific notation. Well, whenever you add scientific notation, what you must have uh, the same exponent. Can you see that you have 10 to the fourth power and this one is 10 to the fifth power? Well, I either gonna be adding 1 to make it 5, or I'll be subtracting 1 to make it 4. And you get to pick, it's up to you, you're gonna get the same answer. On this case, I wanna be adding 1 to make it 5. Okay, I'm gonna do it both ways, by the way, so now you can see that we get the same answer. Now, one thing that I want to remember is that whenever you move the decimal point to the left, you're gonna count how many units you move the decimal point, and that number of units is gonna be added to the exponent. On the other hand, if you move the decimal point to the left, you're gonna count how many units you're moving it to the right, and that number of units should be negative. And that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna be subtracting on that case to the exponent the number of units that you move the decimal point. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by adding 1. So that means that I have to move the decimal point only 1 unit to the left. And if I do this, okay, then you can see how I have to move the decimal point. So let me write it here. So if I move it left only 1 unit, I'm gonna end up with 0, and then it's gonna be 334, and this will be times 10 to the fifth power. Okay. Now that I have moved this one, what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to add it to this other one, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rewrite all of this, and I have the plus sign, and then it's gonna be 6.2 times 10 to the fifth power. Now that we have the same exponent, 10 to the fifth power, 10 to the fifth power, we should be able to just add these two numbers. Okay, so if I add it up, let me do it here. So I'm gonna rewrite 6.2 and adding this to 0.334, we're gonna end up with, because I have nothing to write here, obviously it's gonna be 0. So add it up, you're gonna have 4, 3, 5, the decimal point, just bring it down, and then 6. So out of this, then the answer should be 6.534, and it's gonna be times 10 to the fifth power. Now, this is already in scientific notation because you should have only one whole number in front of the decimal point. Okay, so the answer is going to be 6.534. Now, that is what we get when we add 1. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to do it the other way. Instead of adding 1, just to show you that you're going to get the same answer. Instead of adding 1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be subtracting 1 to make it 4. Well, if I subtract 1, that means I move the decimal point 1 unit to the right. So if I do this, then I'm gonna get only 62 times 10 to the fourth power. What I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna rewrite the other scientific notation. So I'm gonna rewrite it this way. It's gonna be 3.34 times 10 to the fourth power, and now we're gonna add it up. Okay, now if I add it up, I'm gonna be adding 62 plus 3. Remember, this is the whole number, so I can write it this way. Let me write it here. I'm gonna write 62, and then the whole number here is gonna be 3.34. Now 62, you don't see the decimal point. The decimal point should be at the end, and then I'm gonna put zeros. to add it up. Now, adding this up, you're gonna get 4, you're gonna get 3, the decimal point, bring it down, then 2 plus 3, that will be 5, and you see this number 6? Just bring it down. This is not in scientific notation, okay? So in scientific notation, you should have only one whole number in front of it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rewrite it. So we're gonna rewrite it this way. 65.34, that's what we get when we add it up, and we're gonna keep times 10 to the 4th power, okay? Now, like I said, this is not in scientific notation. What you're gonna do is bring the decimal point 1 unit back or to the left. And because you're gonna bring it only 1 unit, that unit that you're gonna be moving the decimal point is gonna be added to the exponent. Okay, that's how we're gonna get 6.534 and then times 10 to the 5th power. When you add it up, you get 5. And you can see clearly we get exactly the same thing. So it doesn't really matter how you do it. You can either add 1 or subtract 1. You will get the same answers. Okay. Now that I finished with this one, I'm gonna just do the other ones. Okay, and you get to pick. I'm not just do it one way, by the way. I'm not gonna do it both ways anymore. This is just to show you that it doesn't matter what you do. You're gonna be either adding 1 or subtract 1, and at the end you should get the same answer. Well, on this case, if I look at this one, that will be the next one. If I wanna either subtract 1 to make it -3 or add 1, I think I'm gonna be adding 1, okay, to this one. So if I decide to add 1, then that means I have to move the decimal point only 1 unit back. So if I move it back 1 unit, I'm gonna get 0. That will be 239, and that will be times 10 to the negative 2nd power. Remember, if they have different sign, subtract, that will give you 2. Keep the sign of the biggest number. That's how you get -2. Then you have the plus sign, and then I'm gonna rewrite it. This one I'm gonna rewrite it here. So that should be 4.56, and that will be times 10 to the negative 2nd power. Now that you have the same exponent, 10 to the negative 2nd power times 10 to the negative 2nd power, what we can do now is add the two numbers. So that means I'm gonna be adding 4.56, and I'm gonna be adding this to 0.239, and once you add it, I'm gonna put 0, I'm gonna add it up, so I'm gonna get 9, I'm gonna get 9, 5 plus 2, I'm gonna get 7, the decimal point, just bring it down, and then number 4. So the answer that I'm gonna get should be 4.799, and that will be times 10 to the negative 2nd power. On this case, that is the answer. Remember, to write this answer in scientific notation, you should have only one whole number in front of the decimal point. Okay, so and that's what we have here. So that is the answer. Okay, now next, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do the last one. And for this one, can you see that we have already the same exponent, right? So 10 to the 3rd power, and this one is also 10 to the 3rd power. So on this case, we're just gonna add it up. There is nothing for you to change or for us to change, because that's what we needed to do. We needed to have the same exponent. And that's how, if we see uh, this is 10 to the 3rd power and 10 to the 3rd power, So this one is really easy because all what we have to do is add the two numbers. So that means I'm going to be adding 3.7 and then I'm going to be adding it with 5.23. And this is going to be addition, right? So now adding this up, you get 3, you get 9, the decimal point, bring it down, 5 plus 3, that would be 8. And the answer should be 8.93, and that would be times 10 to the third power. Okay, this one more time is in scientific notation. All right, and you need only one whole number in front of the decimal point, and that's what we have. So that would be the answer, and that's it.